Hello, and welcome to another T-Studio demo. Today's video is going to show you how to make a simple, small sketchbook out of materials you probably already have. For this project, I used the following items: drawing paper, some cover stock paper, pencil, stapler, metal-edged ruler, and a sharp craft knife. I also used a paper cutter to help me out and a corner trimmer, but you don't actually need those items. Now, I carry with me a travel-style journal to stay organized, and because it's fairly inexpensive. I fill it with several types of these cahier-style notebooks like Moleskines or field notes, some with gridded or lined papers and others with blank pages, and they work great, but sometimes the paper is not as robust or doesn't have any texture. So here's a small sketchbook that I made with some drawing paper and a simple cover made from cover stock. The signature and cover are bound together with 3 staples, which is easy and quick to do. So let's get started. The first thing you'll need to do is to measure an existing book to get the size. Remember that you'll be folding your signatures and you'll need to double the width of your paper. The standard size for these types of journals is 3.5 inches wide by 5 inches tall. That means that I need to double the width when cutting. That way, when they're folded, I can get correct dimensions. I'm going to be using some simple sulfite drawing paper for the interior. I'm also going to use a heavier cardstock. Now, I'll make about 8 pages in my signature, which will yield 16 finished sheets or 32 pages for my finished sketchbook. I used my paper cutter for this, but a ruler and a sharp craft knife would work great. I'm also cutting multiple sheets at a time to save time. I'm now going to cut the cover sheet. And for this, I used some heavier stock paper, and I think it'll work great. You can really use anything for the cover. Heavy craft paper, you could recycle old magazine covers, you could use scrapbooking paper, or even watercolor or Bristol paper, and that way you could actually paint or draw on the cover. I just need to make sure that I cut the sheet to the same size or dimensions as my interior signature paper. Once you have all your sheets cut to size, it's time to fold them up and put them together. You'll want to take your time with this part, making sure to be accurate and neat. I use a bone folder so that I can crease the folds really nicely. I've also found that if I have too many sheets in the signature, I can't get the stapler through it. 8 to 10 along with the cover works really great, but this number can really vary depending on the weight or thickness of the paper that you use. Say if you use copy paper, you could probably get away with more sheets. But if you used a heavier weight paper, like let's say watercolor paper, you would probably have to use fewer sheets. I now need to assemble the book. So now that I've got the book put together, I'm going to use this bulldog clip to clip it and hold it. And one of the things that I notice right off the bat is that you're going to have center pages that will start to stick out of the book. So once I have the binding staples put in, I'm going to have to go back and trim those pages up so that it's nice and neat to the edge of the cover. So in order to do a staple-bound book, I need to make sure that the staples hit right on that fold. I'm using this sort of large bindery stapler. And as I take a measurement of my book, those staples have to hit right at 3.5 inches. So I'm going to make sure that I set the guide on this stapler at 3.5 inches, and I'm going to test it on a scrap sheet of paper just to make sure that I've got it set correctly. And once I'm satisfied, then I can start binding. You can see here that it's off just a little bit, so I have to make an adjustment and then try it again. Okay, that looks good. It's right where I need it to be, so I'm ready to staple. So I clip the pages back together, but this time the book is open. Make sure that all the pages are in the right spot and that they don't move when I start stapling. Now I want the cover on top, that way the corners of the staples will be on the inside of the book. Incidentally, you could probably use like a sewing machine at this point, and you could sew your signatures together, which would make for a kind of a cool looking book, but almost everybody has a stapler, so this is probably the simplest and cheapest way. All right, that looks pretty good. So now all that's left to do is to trim the edge. Got to get rid of those papers that are sticking out. So I'm going to clip it together so that it stays closed. I've got my utility knife here with a brand new, really sharp blade. I'm also using a corked back ruler, which is helpful in that it won't slip around on my project while I cut. Now you're going to want to do multiple passes in order to trim those papers. Don't expect to do it all in one go. That way it's a little safer for you and you'll get a better result in the end. All right, now I have a great little handmade sketchbook and it's ready to go. I like to finish it off a little bit more by taking the corners and rounding them off. So I have this little corner trimmer that works great. It has different radiuses, and all I need to do is slip it inside and trim it out. Well, there it is. A simple staple-bound home DIY sketchbook. These are really easy to do and a lot of fun. And you can use your creativity in making it more personalized with the kinds of papers, covers, and so on. Now I can just take my traveler's journal, slip out one of the old books, and put my new one in. Fits nicely and matches the other ones. I know you can do this project. It's super easy. And I'm sure you have the materials lying around your house that you could make one today. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can like or subscribe or leave comments or questions down below. Thanks for watching.